What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another highly combustible reaction. We're jumping in the next one on our Sabaton journey. So obviously, we're going to do the Sabaton history with it. Hill 3234, the Soviet-Afghan War, Sabaton history, episode 72. Get over, show Sabaton history, all the love of the world. After this, we are going to jump into Sabaton's Hill 3234. Let's go on the journey and see what we got. Shout out to Martine. I definitely appreciate you. You've been taking us on a lot of history journeys lately. I'm digging the He-Man poster in the background.
Very few bands, well, Western bands at least, have written songs that refer to the war between the Soviet Union and the Mujahideen in Afghanistan.
But we did, and our song is Hill 3234.
I'm Indy Nidell.
And this is Joachim from Sabaton.
And this is the last for now, but hopefully the last for good, long-distance episode of Sabaton history. In a few days, yeah, well, we hope so. I will be able to meet with Joachim finally in a few days from when we're filming this, and we'll do the interviews for several songs. I have no idea when I'm going to meet with Per, but he's actually getting back home and hopefully escaping quarantine soon. Right?
He got out of quarantine a few hours ago.
He did.
You remember this crazy ass time? My
He was
God.
cleared by the doctors.
Gosh, poor guy. I mean, he's tested twice in the last week, you know.
Yeah.
He said, I wrote to him on Facebook yesterday, and he wrote me back, and he said, I'm in complete lockdown, I'm in quarantine, and I have water, and this is my food. And he sends a picture, and it's one piece of, like, dark bread and a hard-boiled egg. And that's it.
Yeah, that one. He was not happy.
Yeah, poor pair. Well, all right. Well, Hill 3234. (1987). The Soviet engagement in Afghanistan was coming to an end. Since the coup at Tajbek Palace back in 1979, they had been keeping the pro-Soviet government of the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan in control of the country. The Soviet army had never planned for a long-term occupation. They just wanted to beat the Afghan insurgents into submission until the DRA could stand on its own 2 feet. Neither had happened. The Soviets could only win short-term tactical victories. They could beat the rebels, they could kill them in the open, but they could not keep them from becoming rebels in the first place. More and more money, men, and material disappeared into the quagmire. But the situation in Afghanistan was unsalvageable. Withdrawal was, in the end, the only sound solution. Afghanistan was far from being a unified nation-state. Outside of Kabul and the other big cities, people lived in the old ways. Local feudalistic and Islamic traditions prevailed, and they collided with the autocratic Soviet system. Warlords were united in their hatred of the Soviet occupiers and their sponsored president, Mohammad Najibullah. So for nearly 10 years, the Mujahideen, the Muslim warriors, fought a relentless guerrilla war against that occupation. Led by influential leaders like Jalaluddin Haqqani or Osama bin Laden, the Mujahideen were well organized and moved around the wide mountain ranges of Afghanistan through a large system of caves and hidden trails. From Pakistan and other sympathetic countries, they were outfitted with AK-47s, Lee Enfield rifles, anti-tank mines, and rocket launchers. But while the Soviets were now set on withdrawing,
Laws of mines in Afghanistan. I was over there for 6.5 years. Pretty much straight, 2-week breaks here and there. But if you, it's definitely not what I pictured before I went. Even the terrain is not what I pictured. Just vast amounts of open space and then giant mountains. And then in other places you had full on fields where there was actual irrigation and stuff that people did things with. So there were crops and certain parts of it was green during certain times of the year. It's a whole... I don't think that we could just move over there and try to set up shop without anything, because we would probably die. These people have been doing it for years, living either in big cities or out in the middle of nowhere in a mud hut. There's lots and lots of mines that are still there from when the Soviets were there. They were all over the outside of our base. They were on the base. When I first got there, we were going to our trailer, and we had to drive between these two mounds. And then they told me, oh yeah, those are old Soviet mines that were left behind. They just haven't gotten around to detonating them yet or diffusing them yet, or so it's definitely, I don't know, Afghanistan's a whole different beast. I feel like we probably could have learned a lot if we paid attention. Like, hey, maybe there's no victory to this thing. The only way to do is pull out
their forces.
Like,
Mohammed Najibullah was getting nervous about the future of his government. To stay in power, the Afghan president needed a symbolic victory, one that would show the guerrilla forces that he was in control. Now, large parts of Afghanistan were connected by single paths, many of them ancient, which led through the steep-sided mountains, often for dozens of kilometers. One such route, the Satu Kandev Pass, ran from Kabul towards the cities of Gardez and Kos in the province of Paktia. Since 1981, it had been under control of the Mujahideen, so most of Paktia was cut off from ground traffic, and the Soviets had been forced to supply their forces there by air. This was, of course, not only very expensive, but by the late 1980s, the Mujahideen were increasingly equipped with surface-to-air missiles, like the US-made FIM-92 Stinger. A plan was made to wrest control from the Mujahideen. Operation Magistral, or Highway, was to reopen Satu Kandev Pass for traffic once more.
Landed on the hilltop, Soviet forces are in place, awaiting orders. They were only 39, they were told to hold the line, in control.
On November 19th, 1987, Soviet airborne units and special forces were airlifted into the mountains and swept the guerrilla forces from their positions in a well-coordinated attack. Such units had proven particularly effective at fighting in hostile and inhospitable terrain. They adapted quickly, and fighting in Afghanistan favored smaller but well-trained and equipped units, for which the regular motor rifle divisions were unsuited. The men of the 345th Independent Guards Airborne Regiment were ordered to occupy the heights in the southwest of the route, near Sarani. The 345 was a veteran unit. From the very beginning of hostilities, they had been involved in numerous operations, leading raids deep into the countryside. Brought in by gunships, they set out to ambush the Mujahideen supply routes with aggressive and imaginative tactics. Now they were spread out thinly over the mountaintops. The 39 paratroopers of the 9th Company were sent to Hill 3234. This hill, named after its height in meters, which is over 10,000 feet, was a commanding position that must be held if the pass was to be controlled. Most of 345's men at this point were not even 20 years old, but although conscripted from all over the Soviet Union, the paratroopers had undergone special mountain combat training in the Uzbek ASSR. That experience was now crucial in the brutal Afghan winter and the extreme elevation. On the evening of December 30th...
That's the other thing about that place, is that there wasn't really an in-between comfort level. You were either hot as hell or you were freezing in the winter. Like, it got cold. We used to have to, when we had, during the rainy season, we got floods. We used to have to walk through knee-deep water to get to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And you want to talk about freezing out of your warm bed into the ice-cold water? No,
First, under command of Senior Lieutenant Sergei Tkachyov, the 9th Company established camp on Hill 3234. Already, though, Mujahideen who had crossed the border to Pakistan were re-infiltrating, making their way to the mountain pass. Key to the Soviet defense were two things: the radio control station that kept contact with the Soviet artillery, and the 12.7 millimeter NSV heavy machine gun on the highest point of the mountain. The approaches to the hill were heavily mined, leaving only two routes for reinforcements open. The paratroopers had two PKM light machine guns, a grenade launcher, and a couple rocket launchers, but by the nature of mountain warfare, had only limited fields of fire. Also, the ground was frozen solid, so digging trenches was out. Instead, the men built waist-high walls of loose, dry stone called kladki. These were deemed good enough to withstand the occasional small arms fire and sporadic shelling from the enemy. The Gardez Kost route was now officially open for traffic for the first time since 1981. For a few days, the paratroopers of 345 were shelled and sniped at on a daily basis, but nothing out of the ordinary. However, on January 7th, Orthodox Christmas Day, the shelling suddenly intensified. A massive artillery barrage rocked the mountain. It was immediately clear that this was not part of the regular harassing attacks. Several hundred mortar rounds and rockets crashed into the Soviet encampment, showering the area with shrapnel and destroying much of the Kladky walls. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the camp was suddenly struck by rocket attacks from three sides. From the south, groups of fighters advanced in the wake. The Mujahideen rushed from cover to cover and got within 200 meters of the outpost before they were spotted. The NSV heavy machine gun opened up at once, tearing into the attackers. The quick-thinking artillery spotter called in artillery support, and it silenced many of the Mujahideen rocket launchers. But that brought only a short respite. At 4:10, another bombardment rained down on the Soviet position. This time, the guerrillas advanced from two directions, the strongest attack from the north. The Soviet commander noticed that this was unusually well coordinated. See, for years, the Mujahideen had relied on hit-and-run tactics, but now they were seen with walkie-talkies, like regular trained soldiers. The rebels waited until the barrage forced the paratroopers to take cover before they attacked, and separate ground groups covered each other with suppressing fire. Bundles of hand grenades bounced against the Kladkys, and many defenders were wounded by shrapnel and stone fragments. The whole mountaintop became engulfed in the chaos of combat as the noise of grenades, gunfire, and exploding mines drowned everything else out. The attacks now concentrated on the 12.7 millimeter gun. Placed in the center, the gun was able to shoot in all directions, but was also vulnerable to the enemy. Rockets and hand grenades targeted the gun, and some RPGs were fired from such a close range that they bounced off the gun without exploding. Still, the machine gunner held on, firing a continuous stream into the enemy until shrapnel finally cut him and his gun down. 5:35, another attack began. With the heavy machine gun destroyed, the Mujahideen made an all-out attack from three directions. Soviet artillery once more crashed into the attackers, but it was now dangerously close to their own position. The guerrillas came close, shouting to the Soviets to surrender. But you know, this was not the kind of war where you'd want to become a prisoner. At 7:10, the situation grew desperate. Casualties were heavy and ammunition was running low. Fighting was so intense that a whole box of ammunition lasted maybe 15 minutes. The men fired their guns at close range. Others were even locked into hand-to-hand combat, fighting with bayonets and knives. Again, the enemy was repulsed. As night began to fall, the paratroopers were down to just a magazine or two, and there were no grenades left. They had radioed to base repeatedly that they were in desperate need of supplies, but High Command responded that it was too dangerous to send in helicopters. The only help in immediate range was the deputy chief of the political department further down in the valley. He had just a few men from maintenance and reconnaissance personnel with him, but he immediately ordered them up the mountain. The column of armored vehicles made its way through the night until the route became impassable and the men dismounted. Burdened with 45 kilos of supplies and ammunition, each man struggled up the hill. They knew that the paratroopers were in a desperate situation and that reaching them was a matter of life and death. The men on the mountaintop had now been under attack for 12 hours, but all through the night the Mujahideen did not let up. The defenders were firing only single shots. There was not enough ammunition left to fire in bursts. Every bullet must count. Meanwhile, the support personnel advanced up the mountain. The approach was so steep that it took them 2.5 hours. In the end, the Mujahideen were unable to break the position. It was close. The arrival of the supply column had saved the day. The intensity of the attack caused a lot of speculation, though. It was the first time in the war the Soviets had encountered such a concentrated and well-executed attack. Some of the paratroopers said they had seen men in black uniforms and turbans. Rumors spoke of Pakistani special forces that supported the rebels and were even airlifted into Afghanistan, but it could never be proven. Of the 39 paratroopers, 6 had been killed and 28 wounded, some seriously. 3 men were awarded the Hero of the Soviet Union, 2 posthumously. The others were awarded the Order of the Red Banner and the Order of the Red Star. It is unknown exactly how many Mujahideen had been killed since they took all their dead and wounded from the battlefield as they retreated, but the Soviets said they numbered over 100. The victory was, however, short-lived. Like all of Operation Magistral, the battle for Hill 32-34 was a tactical success, sure, and the Gardes Coast route would remain open, but only for a few weeks. After the Soviets withdrew their forces, the Afghan army was unable to hold it. By the end of January 1988, the Mujahideen came back and recaptured the area. It was analogous to the whole war, a short-lived victory that meant little to nothing in the end.
Kind of sounds familiar. But did nothing in the end.
Joachim, one thing that I noticed from this song, when just after the verse, it goes to a half tempo, right? And I don't remember if it was you or if it was Per, but one of you guys said in one of these that you hate it when songs go to half tempo. So I was just thinking, how do you feel about this one? You know?
Well, if I'm honest, it could have been me, but if it was me, I hate when choruses go to half tempo. Because it slows the song down like we did on Night Witches, and I normally
That's
hate
what
that.
it was. It was Night Witches.
Oh yeah, then it was me, sorry. But in this case, it's sort of the pre-chorus, and then it's fine. I'm totally cool with it.
Because then it goes back up again.
Yeah, you get a snap in the chorus anyway. I mean, I have a really love-hate relationship with this song because I think probably the best drumming in Sabaton history is towards the end of this song. The fill that Hannes performs, when the main riff comes back towards the end, I think that is, how he figured that out in his head and how he performed that. That's beyond incredible, fantastic. But on the other hand, his intro fill, I mean, it's a cut down version of it, but his drum intro was neither me or Peter, the producer at the time, could wrap our heads around it. So it was really weird. I'm not a huge fan of the drum intro. It's nothing bad with it. I'm getting used to it now, but I seriously think the last drum fill he does towards the end of the song is probably the coolest drums we ever had in Sabaton.
Does he know this? Does he know how you feel about this?
At least that I like the last part. Maybe he'll find out about the first part now.
You know, you're gonna get a call from him when this comes out and go, so don't like my drums?
Didn't tell me about that.
No, I love your drums. You don't love them all the time.
Right, not all the
That'd be
time.
funny.
Well, that's actually the constant thing. I mean, I actually enjoy it, the process of recording music. Some people, just want to do their thing, and nobody can touch that. I wouldn't say I like conflict. I don't really, but a bit of friction and difference of opinion is good when writing music, and especially also recording music, because
Definitely in the studio playing around with stuff, and someone says, "Try this," and you think that's not, and you're like, hey, who knew?
yeah, and you think you got it, and somebody takes that idea and takes it further. Maybe it was started out with a guitar thing, and then somebody grabs a keyboard, or it's I really like that. A bit of friction is good, I think.
Now, but speaking of the music and stuff, you and I were talking a while ago, and you were actually talking about the solo of this song. So tell them what you were saying to me.
Yeah, actually, it's a perfect example of how pieces just fall into place sometimes. I remember, I guess this is in late 2015, I think, when I basically had made the pre-production for the song, and I sent it all out to the band, and Tobbe, who was playing guitar at the time, came back like, I don't know, 5 minutes after I sent the mail, like, "Oh, cool stuff, can I do the solo? I got an idea." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And 45 minutes later, he sends it back with the double harmony part. And I mean, normally if somebody comes up with a good idea for a solo, we adapt the song. I mean, this is only a pre-production, so we would change around the chords and everything, but he just nailed it exactly to the chords that were written and everything. So kudos to him to getting that thing just that fast, because when you're a musician, sometimes that's how it is. You might struggle for ages and ages and ages on the simple things sometimes, or a single thing, and then, well, you know yourself.
Oh yeah.
The next time you're just sitting down and like, where the fuck did that come from, you know?
And the next time I have nothing, I'm going to call you. And I say, listen, I need a keyboard bit for this song. I have nothing.
Oh, you will be very, very disappointed. My keyboard skills these days are not that great anymore.
But maybe it's simplicity I'm looking for.
Oh, then I'm your man.
I see.
Then I'm your man.
Now, the actual subject matter of this song, this is interesting because, like I said at the very beginning, you don't hear a lot of songs about the war between the Soviet Union and the Mujahideen.
I think I've ever heard any songs
in
about
Afghanistan.
it.
I don't know if there's maybe a lot of Russian songs that were written in the Soviet Union back then. Maybe there are, but I mean Western songs. How did this leap out at you, this particular story?
Well, we were obviously looking for, what do you call it? Well, I guess I could say fantastic stories about last stands. I remember this stuff, you know, I was, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 when this went down. So this conflict is actually one of the earlier ones I remember from the, what do you call it, the news cycle these days. I can't say it's fond memories, obviously, but some of my earlier memories of current events is actually the Soviet-Afghan conflict.
You know, that's interesting because I was a teenager when this happened, because I'm a bit older than you, even though I don't look it, I mean, but, you know. But I was a teenager when this happened, and you would think that it would be more on the American news cycles, but it wasn't. We knew that it was there, and you could read about it in Time magazine or in Newsweek magazine, in the serious news magazines, but you didn't see much about it on any late night TV or news cycle. It was more about American stuff because it was a Soviet war, I guess, you know. Okay, well, I'm going to let you go now, but I'm going to see you in a few days, and then we'll be live, and we still won't be hugging, we'll be doing finger guns or something, right?
Yes, something like that.
Finger guns.
We should be doing some barbecue as well after this.
Absolutely, great idea. Okay, well, we'll put some pictures of that up, right?
Yep.
I'll marinate some meat for a couple days. I'll bring it up. I might bring my little kebab rotisserie. When I had Corona and complete isolation, I ordered a 70 € rotisserie kebab grill from Germany, and I spent the times that I was able to get out of bed like making like kilos of meat. It's great. I'll bring it. You'll see it next week.
Got its own kebab
okay,
machine.
well, for me, Indy Nidell,
and from me, Joachim.
goodbye for this week from Sabaton History Lockdown, hopefully final episode.
Sabaton
right?
History Quarantine Edition.
Final lockdown episode. Let's do this. And see you soon. Back on the road.
Rock and roll.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. And thank you so much for the support with the community. All the Patreons, everyone who's helping, sharing this. We really love doing this. And thanks to you, we can keep on doing it. So keep on doing what you do, and we will keep on doing what we do. Thank you.
Hey, get over, show Sabaton all the love of the world. Go show Sabaton history, the love. We're going to jump into the actual Hill 32-34 song right here in just a moment. I will be back to Shakes of a Lamb's Tail. And we're back with Sabaton's Hill 32-34. Let's jump in. Let's check it out together. The official lyric video. Get over, show Sabaton all the love in the world. We already hit the like button over here, too. You go do the same thing. Let's do it. A damn terrifying moment to be one of those people at the top of the hill. That's what I got to say.
Landed on the hilltop, Soviet forces are in place. No waiting orders. We were only 39. They were told to hold the line in control.
What do you do against insurmountable odds like that? Like, that's just, I don't know. That's when you determine what kind of person you really are and how bad you want to stay alive, I suppose. Some people would legitimately just give up. You want us to do what? How in the... It's not like they could retreat. You're on top of a mountain. What are you going to do?
On the hilltop where our thoughts follow orders, holding the ground till the final round, one by one. Fight through the sundown into the night, enduring the darkness, awaiting the light. Hold your ground when you're fighting those who fight. That is waiting on the hill. No surrender, shoot to kill. You have to hold your ground. Kill the warrior in your sight. That is waiting on the hill. No surrender, shoot to kill.
You feel like a warrior yet? Oh.
Fire low ammunition, make your bullets count. Push the warriors back down the mountains to the battlefront.
It's glorious.
Sent into battle, came from the sky, trapped on that mountain and into the fire. Hold your ground when you're fighting those who fight. That is waiting on the hill. No surrender, shoot to kill. You have to hold your ground. Kill the warrior in your sight. That is waiting on the hill. No surrender, shoot to kill.
I just, in my mind the whole time is playing like, what these people must have been thinking of. Well, here goes nothing. We ain't like, we're pretty much overrun at this point anyway. It would be so easy to just be like, this is it. But no, they saved their ammo. The word got out to the right people. Someone came in and helped. Last minute miracle type things that, I don't know, they always boggle my mind. It's always so interesting to dive into anything history, but especially wartime history, because there's a lot of wars that I would not have wanted to fight. Afghanistan is a different kind of a beast. It really is, terrain-wise, just everything-wise. It's a whole different kind of a situation. And on top of a hill in the middle of there is absolutely the last place that I would want to be ever. Unless I've got like an infinite ammo cheat code or something like that. Definitely get over, show Sabaton all the love of the world. Go show Sabaton history, the love. Shout out to Martine. I appreciate you bringing us these real life stories that need to be kept alive. Smash the like button if you liked it, the dislike button, but I won't believe you. Tell the next one of my Combustible. You guys be happy, healthy, safe, and let me to the moon and back.